While Season 4's first 3 episodes of Westworld were not without their secrets and surprises, they were noticeably less complicated than earlier episodes. The confusing timeline and the frequent need for viewers to wonder if a character was alive or dead, a host or a human, were no longer present. The showrunners Lisa Joy and Jonathan Nolan, however, are back to messing with timelines and character arcs that circle around and around, whirling and intertwining until everyone is dizzy with Season 4, Episode 4, titled Generation Loss. When we last saw Maeve Millay, Thanto Newton, and Caleb Nichols, Aaron Paul, she was a host and he was a human, but they were both in trouble. Maeve has been defeated by host William Ed Harris in the most recent of their numerous bouts, while Caleb has been flyjacked by host Charlotte Hale, Tessa Thompson, and is now her prisoner in the behavioral training lab of the new park. On a secluded island, Maeve and Caleb launch an attack on a fortified Rehoboam backup server, where Caleb appears to have been shot to death. Joy and Nolan take viewers back on the twisting and dizzying roller coaster journey in the dark that Westworld can sometimes be, sowing the seeds of doubt as to whether Caleb is actually alive in whatever hazy timeline is currently considered the present. Maeve hacks into Caleb's limbic implant as he is bleeding out on the ground and demonstrates what a free and content life could be like for him. It's a fleeting look into the sublime, which increases the likelihood that Caleb is a host. Caleb wakes up from the fly attack in the behavioral lab with host Charlotte Hale, who tells him what she did to him. Before we can ask a question, what I'll do to everyone of your type. You are my pet now. It's becoming increasingly obvious that her ambitions go beyond simply installing hosts at the top of the social and corporate hierarchy, and that she is bent on retaliation and determined to inflict as much suffering as she can on the human race. Charlotte explains to Caleb that now that her hosts are in charge of the park, she can use it as a trap to turn more people into what she has altered them into. They will go with their debauched recollections of their adventures and my parasites as souvenirs, she claims. You are the first wave in the super spreader event of the century. You ought to feel honored. Although he tells her he won't let his daughter grow up in a society she governs, he's not exactly in a position to make that decision at this time. Maeve rescues Caleb once more by momentarily disabling her own auditory sensors and taking control of the sonic control tower to render William and Charlotte inoperable. Her familiarity with the original park's loops enables her to safely lead Caleb, Charlotte, and their prisoner through streets crowded with visitors and hosts' guns. Almost symmetrically opposite from where he was shot during Caleb and Maeve's attack on the island, and with a weapon that was allegedly only meant to hurt hosts, Caleb gets stabbed in the side during their escape. We return to the events following their assault on Rehoboam and find Caleb in the hospital recuperating from his wounds as they drive away, and he bleeds out once more. Maeve claims that, after spending weeks by his bedside, she thought about what it would be like if he were free. She adds, "It was incredible. I wanted you to fight for something worth fighting for, not just to exist," she said. She appears to be admitting to Caleb that his recent memories, including those of his wife Uwade, Nazifo McLean, and daughter Frankie, Celeste Clark, were all created by her, based on her own lost daughter, and pumped into his limbic system to give him the impression of a happy existence. If he indeed passed away from that bullet, she has been using him ever since as a host. After leaving the park, Caleb and Maeve travel to a quarry within the park to face the man in black one last time. While William and Maeve are exchanging gunfire, Caleb takes Charlotte inside a demolition bunker and makes a distress call. William, who swiftly heals from the numerous wounds from the high-powered gun, attacks Maeve after William kills her, despite the flies in his head ordering him to shoot Maeve. But once more, Maeve appears to be at least a step ahead of her enemies and detonates enough bombs to kill them both and bury them beneath the debris. When Caleb sees the lights from helicopters carrying what he assumes are his troops but are actually Charlotte's goons, he believes he is secure within the bunker but is still bleeding profusely. After asking him ominously if he recalls this incident, we learn the biggest Season 4 spoiler so far. That day, Caleb was killed by her soldiers and he is currently being investigated for Fidelity in the Olympiad offices. She informs him that he is the 278th host version of himself and that during the 23 years he has been in development, she and her parasites have ruled the entire planet. When Caleb leaves his Fidelity interview, he discovers that everyone is dressed in villain or hero-themed park attire. He observes that Charlotte, with the aid of the enormous control tower that is now looming just off the point of Manhattan Island, is able to freeze and resume everyone's motor functions at will. But Generation Loss ends with a few more significant revelations. When we last saw Bernard, Jeffrey Wright, he was out in the desert looking for a weapon that he had discovered during his magic headband explorations through every possible path in the universe. Bernard was with the resistance movement agent known only as CC is looking for her father, who she assumes is deceased, and is hoping he is buried there. They only find Maeve, but Bernard appears to be certain that she is the only weapon they require. The second significant revelation is subsequently given to us. C is actually Frankie, Caleb's daughter. Along with her swarm of flies, Charlotte's influence and power have been expanding, and now that the park is effectively acting as a human trap, she seems unstoppable. But the combination of Bernard's expertise, Maeve's influence, and the other members of Frankie's resistance might present a tremendous obstacle. The almost omniscient Bernard and the almost omnipotent Maeve seem to be working together in the same timeline as Charlotte and the host Caleb in a gesture of charity from Lisa Joy and Jonathan Nolan. The 23-year time jump would make things much simpler as we approach the upcoming Bernard, Frankie, and Maeve vs. Charlotte showdown. It also matches C's apparent current age. Why the previous parkland is now called the Forbidden Lands and covered in several feet of sand is the most intriguing mystery in this plot. Did the hosts act similarly to those in the first park, and if so, were they hostile toward Charlotte, the visitors, or both? The third reality depicted in Generation Loss likewise leaves some unanswered concerns. Christina, Evan Rachel Wood, appears to be connected to Dolores psychically and has the ability to transform the video game backgrounds she makes for work into what she believes to be her real life. Christina, Maya, Ariana Debes, and their environment are either just another simulation running on a computer someplace, or someone has discovered out how to clone a human using a host's data. If the latter is the case, who created the world in which they now reside? It might be a utopia created by a more relaxed and upbeat Dolores. She may be more interested in living a happy life than ensuring justice for her kind given the agonizing apparent demise she appeared to have suffered at the end of Season 3. We still don't know exactly how many copies she made of herself. Maeve or Charlotte might have used personalities they are already familiar with to establish their universe as a testing ground for whatever advancement they are pursuing. On Williams Hoover Dam servers, it might even be a test run for a brand new theme park with slightly altered plots, such gorgeous Teddy Flood, James Marsden, grabbing Christina's rolling lipstick rather than a soup can. Charlotte appears to be the most in charge, and what we're being led to believe is the current reality of Westworld, and she probably has a number of test sims running someplace to assist her maintain her hold on humanity. Up to and including the streetlights and other dispersed outside fixtures that seem to be relaying or enhancing the Sonic Tower's transmissions, Christina's New York City is far too similar to the one Caleb finds himself in after he momentarily escapes his Fidelity interview to be accidental. The term generation loss refers to the quality loss that occurs with each duplicate generated and is a relic from the period of analog recording. Charlotte informed William that James Delo's, Peter Mullen Fundamental S goals made him pretty simple to imitate, and we observed this degeneration after too many James Delo's copies. Caleb, who is currently on his 278th copy, and other more complicated personalities have proven more challenging. It's also conceivable that Caleb, who died during their assault on Rehoboam Island, was hostified by Maeve and is now being double-hosted by Charlotte. This would be a Westworld first and raise a host of generational loss issues. We still don't know what that means for his destiny or the future of the very few remaining of humanity.